I love this. So we will get started. I'll give it like a few more seconds. We have a lot of information. Last time when we talked, when we got together, it was really about me and my journey from, yeah, you're like 130 degrees in Arizona. It was my journey from starting a family who'd never gone to college. I was first in my family to go to college. And I talked about my trajectory, and it was really a story about pivots and constant pivots that people do through time. So I'm going to do a 1-minute synopsis through my presentation, and then go toward resumes and LinkedIn. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Waiter, a little bit about me, a little bit of how I got here, and then we're going to go straight to resumes and LinkedIn. I'm going to try really hard to save about 5-6 minutes at the end for questions. I'm going to hopefully anticipate some of them, but feel free to put in the chat as you start thinking through. I will get to them right at the end, last 5 to 10 minutes. And you can always email me if you have very specific questions. So here we go. A little bit about me. So why should you listen to me? Who am I? My name is Cynthia Medina Carson. I am the CEO of Wager. Last presentation was really about me, and like the 1-minute version. I was first in my family to go to college. When I chose college, I had no idea what I was doing. I applied a bunch of places, and my uncle said, "Oh, you got into Georgetown, go there. They have a great basketball team." And that is how I decided. That was as much insight as I knew about the world. But you know, I figured myself along the way, and it was a great place for me because I was very political science and government, and really like, you know, thinking about service and, you know, how do we do big and good for the world. I served in Nicaragua as a Peace Corps volunteer, teaching women how to start their own businesses, micro lending, 40 women, $100, and all of them had to start a business. Beautiful, wonderful experience. Went to grad school, was ready to do international affairs, but then 9/11 happened. And I had to really think about all I had learned, you know, what does it matter now and how do I apply that? So I used my skills in numbers and data and research, and actually went to the Treasury and worked on anti-terrorist financing, which meant that I was using my number skills to find terrorist financing and find the bad money and take it off the market. People thought I was kind of crazy, but you know, when I think about my life, I think about what's the next thing, what's the next opportunity, and what skills do I have for that? Eventually, we had the big old recession, 2008, 2009. I lost my job, and I had to really think for the first time, again, in a lot of years, what am I doing next? Okay, where am I? Who am I? I really listened to the people around me, and what spoke to me was, listen, you're really good at people. You're really good at the conversations. You're really good at getting people to kind of motivate them. So the next thing, I think recruiting would be great for you. So I started recruiting for friends of mine. They had a startup. I did work for the startup. I said, okay, if I do great for you, you're going to hire me. And they did. I ended up working for multinationals. I was an executive recruiter. I was a tech recruiter, always great and good. But what I saw, you know, this is how I kind of came into Wager. One thing I saw working in large companies and just companies in general, I just felt like there was all this information they had. I was this candidate, I was applying, and I just felt like I knew nothing. I didn't know how much to ask for in terms of salary. I didn't know how to function in these companies. And I saw that on the other side. I saw a lot of people who were negotiating, who were just doing a bad job, really didn't know their worth. And I felt like a calling to be more focused on, all right, getting people situated, like getting good salaries, you know, getting motivated and to go from VP to maybe be CEO, and just kind of motivating people forward. So when we started Wagers, really was about focusing on salary transparency and helping the individual. So now we do that. Like I spent a lot of time teaching people how to do salary negotiations, working with individuals. During the pandemic though, we've had to broaden our offerings because people are now a little more worried about their career and their growth. Like they'd love to get to a salary conversation, but they're worried about how do I get there given all the unknowns. I still though, in my heart, feel like we can do all this work as individuals, right? We can negotiate, get great salaries. We can, you know, get great careers. I want companies to do their job in terms of creating an atmosphere that finds good workers, keeps good workers, and is transparent about their worth and salaries. So that was all me before. We're going to talk about resumes and LinkedIn today. As a recruiter, former recruiter, I'm going to think about this piece as what I, as a recruiter, see. I think when you do a resume and you do your LinkedIn, you're really just doing it what you think. I'm going to give you, as a recruiter, what I saw and what my advice I would give. And this is the most important piece, you know, one of the most important pieces. I see, and it's been, they did a documentation, they did this survey, they actually monitored recruiters looking at resumes, and in general, recruiters take about a 6-second glance at your resume. You might have spent months and years and weeks with every little word and every little thought and really working hard on it. I look at it for 6 seconds. Actually, I was counting one time, more like 4. I glance really quickly and I move on. And I think it's important for you to know that, because then you start to think about what you really should be in that resume. My eyes go really fast to a few places. I look the title of your first 2 jobs. Does it match the job description, right? Because I have a job description in front of me. Someone is paying money. I have a job. I want to pay someone $100,000 for this job. When I look at a resume, I'm like, does it match up quickly to that job description? So the first 2 titles, right, is a senior manager and then a director level. So I see some progression. Do I see like, analyst, are we in the same place? And then I look at a few bullets. Like, so I see the first line, a few bullets, next line, a few bullets. And why that's important is because what you want me to do is look for it at 6 seconds, but then really actually, oh, this person kind of matches a job description. I'm going to take 2 or 3 minutes to look at this resume. Your goal is to get me to be like, oh, double take. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to go through these 50, and then I'm going to focus on these 10 that I think, or even 5 that I think are good, right? So I look at the first 2 jobs you've had, and I look at a couple bullets. And then I used to look at location, right? If a person's applying from San Diego, this job is in Philadelphia. I don't want to, especially if it's a job that's gotten 200 or 300, applications. I don't want to deal with moving or time frame or stuff. I'm probably going to put that away. I have an asterisk though, because since the pandemic, I've actually been advocating people to apply to any jobs they want, because most jobs at big companies are currently remote. And some companies like Twitter and some other large ones might be remote till 2021 or 22. So it won't matter. If you want to apply for a job you're in San Diego, you want to apply for a job in New York, you're going to have to get up a couple hours early or whatever, but it's a little different. That may go away. There's just a moment in time for that. So knowing that this is what I find and look for, I'm going to tell you what you should have in your resume. The resume needs to speak to the job description. And I say that over and over. And we'll talk about what we shouldn't see before. Some of your resumes, some of you out there are going to be like, hey, everything she says I should do or shouldn't do are like totally opposite what I'm doing. And that is 100% fine. This is why you're here, right? So there's a job description. Someone wrote it, someone cut and paste, whatever, but it says all the stuff that they are looking for. They have a problem they need solving. They're willing to pay someone to solve this problem. Your job is to speak to the job, right? Make sure your resume and the words you're using lines up with what they want. Make sure you're answering their problem. They literally have a problem. They'll put money toward the problem. And you want to say, I am the person to solve that specific problem. You also want to show your level of skill. If you're going to apply to a director level position, it should say direct reports, the number of reports, the kind of work you do for them. If you're an analyst, you want to say, yep, I do that analytical type work, and maybe a little bit about your skill level. So there's a job description. You're going to speak to that. You're going to answer their problems, and only that. You're going to say, where are you? Are you beginning, middle, and end in the skill? And some data around that. Don't worry, we're going to walk through this a little more specifically. So the key, you want the resume to tell me where you're going, not where you've been. And I want you to hold on to that sentence, right? Where you're going in the future, all the amazing things you do, not all the stuff you've done before that may not resonate or be necessary for this job. And if you doubt that, I promise you, I will take another look at your resume. Now, this is what it shouldn't be. And don't be unhappy if this is you. And I see this a lot. You've listed every single job relevant, like it's literally the history of your life. That is good for bios, and that is good for maybe conversations and maybe when you're interviewing. But on a resume, you have 1 page to do this for me, right? Oftentimes, not only do you list everything you've ever done, you also, you give it to me in 4 or 5 pages. And I want to speak to this because often, and I speak to a lot of women, they do this specifically because they feel a little insecure. They feel like if I give them everything, they'll know I'm smart. The more I put and the more I pour, like they will see me as a really smart person. And what I'm going to tell you is when you do that, you clutter it up, right? You have tiny font. You're starting to squish everything into a couple pages, right? And so you've really squished everything so crowded. And I can't, I got those 6 seconds and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what you do, what you've done it, but does it answer my problem? This goes back to I have a problem. I have a job description. Are you answering my problem? And we come from, I mean, I feel like no one's ever taught us this. We tend to just pile job on top of job, and the resume is now 3 pages. I get this asked a lot. Is it 1 page? Is it 2? I will tell you, I work with CEOs, I work with SVPs, I work with directors, I work with everyone. If you can have it in 1 page, I promise you can have it on 1 page. We'll go through a few things that I want to focus on, and I'll show you an example as well. Okay. So this is what it should include. And this is the nuts, probably the conversation. I'm going to have a little bit also on LinkedIn and a small bit on networking. So when I look and I have those 6 seconds, I want to see the position. What I see often is people put the company name, location, a bunch of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out, well, right, but are you answering my job description? And then underneath it, I'll see in small or type, I'll see what they actually do. Data analyst in the marketing department or something. I would ask you, especially if you have a lot to say, put your position, right? You want director marketing, then your next one is senior manager marketing. I want to see what you do first, then company. Company is important if it's a really well-known company and you're like at the hot person in the industry, and that maybe you'll get my attention. If you want Google, yeah, and Facebook, of course, some people want to put that first. Fine, but in general, tell me what you do first, and then I'll worry about where you do it later. And this is a really easy thing to do. So you have your title. You go look at the job description. It tells you, they'll say your chief responsibility are these 3 things. Great. Guess what? Make sure your top bullet points are those 3 things. Match up what they need answer them the way they need to be answered. If your job description says, you'll be in charge of all events, you will be in charge of social media, you will interact with all these different types of people in the health industry, right? These are your top 3 things. Match that up with your bullets. How well can you match that up to the job? Or I've done all these events. I've done all this in these, health industry. I've been taking care of all the social media. Show me. I'm like, okay, great. I see she can do what I need her to do. It's not always going to be perfect, but try really hard. And what I do then is I tell each person I've worked with, do that for this job, do that for the second job, and do as best as you can for the next 3 or 4. I'm never going to really look at them immediately. I will eventually, if you're one of the candidates, focus on the first couple and make sure I see those quickly. Succinct bullet points. I've seen people do have a bullet point that's 4 lines long. Again, am I going to go through and read all of it? I just want to know what's happening. Are you good at what I want? Make it less wordy, make it succinct. One version of that works. Why would you have 2 lines the most? You would say, these are all the things, these are all the types of events I've done it. I've done it for all these type of media companies and all these entertainment companies, you'd give 4 or 5 examples, right? And I could see why that would be two lines. But other than that, 1 line, succinct, say what you do, how you do it. Now, this is the other thing, especially when it comes to the skill level. I need to know, are you the director level for this? Are you new to this? So this is what at my position. These are what I've done. I've grown it this way, this how long. I've done it for how long, and I've done it so often. I've worked with so many people, and I've managed X, Y, Z. Give some data points and give me the girth around how well you've done this, how often you've done this, and how much you've done it. Give me some sense of it. Don't just say, I do these 4 things and I've done these. Tell me how great you've done it, and do that with data, some data if you can. People who do less data work, data unquantifiable work. Some people feel I'm more of an artist. I tend to work, more like conversations or phone, and I don't know how to give data on that. You can. Everyone knows, you spend hours a day doing something. What is it you do? How often are you doing it? And how well are you doing it? You can sort that out on a resume. Okay, so this is going to be very important for both the resume and for LinkedIn. Applicant tracking systems are just the company's ways of inbound, getting resumes. If you're online and you see a company and you want to help this health organization or a nonprofit, and you apply online and it goes into ether, you're like, okay, what happened? And usually they have a system, they have a database that they've chosen to use, they get it. I'm a recruiter, I wake up in the morning, I go to my job, I have my coffee, and I see, okay, these 20 people have applied to the job, I'm gonna go look at it. It comes through their applicant tracking system. The reason it is important for you to use the right words and the job description and these buzzwords, whatever is in the job description, you want to superimpose that into your resume, is because later when you move this to LinkedIn, the way LinkedIn helps you find jobs and helps people and helps employers find you is making sure these words are there. It is just a computer. You have your resume, you're going to put it into LinkedIn in a nice succinct way. And all of a sudden you're going to start seeing the jobs you want to be seen for because you have buzzwords. That is all. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But just know that LinkedIn, it's a really expensive, people pay thousands of money to post a job on LinkedIn. And as a service, LinkedIn will send people resumes that are profiles that are similar to their job description. So again, this is why you really got to think about what you write and make sure it matches the job description. Since you only have one page, you got to make this page relevant, right? It's prime real estate. You have a one page to do all you need to do to get seen. Make sure every experience is relevant. I really appreciate all the hard work you've done all your life. And I think the hardest part for a person to really shorten their resume is because there was so much heart and soul put into all these jobs. And I'm telling you, yeah, not relevant, or change that or shorten that. And it's like, oh, but that's who I am. That's my whole life. I hear you, what you want. You can talk about that later in the interview. I want you to be seen. That is what's more important. People's awards and services, again, relevant to the job. I am often asked about the skills section. This section, I guess, I want to say, when it says, good communication, Excel and Word, like that's like saying I know how to read and write. I feel like, again, prime real estate, you want to be seen. It's a throwaway section, unless it's much more a tech-based, like I do Python. These are the types of programming I do. You're like, okay, great, I need to see that. The skill section is really important. If you know Salesforce, or you're an engagement manager, I want to make sure you have some of the software in terms of managing and customer management systems. So there's specific things. If you have certificates, these are all. But like if you're just saying the basics, Excel and Word and Good Communicator and all these things that we all write, it's not necessary. At this point, I should know you do that. Another thing I'm often asked is if I've been in a place for 10 years and I've like rose up the ranks, do I do every? And I've seen resumes where a person has one whole first page just on that one company. It doesn't serve them well though. There was a woman who did that. She had half the page was her consulting she had done for 2 years, another half page, one company, and then a bunch of other ones that were actually way more relevant for the current job she was applying for, but I was never going to look at them. They're like in second and third. We cut that first job down. It was just a consulting. So we figured out how to narrow it down, and we're able to place the 4 last jobs. And all of a sudden she became a whole different person. I was like, wow, you were hiding in there. We made this is great. And she recently accepted a job at Amazon. So I'm speaking from experience of why I know it's painful, but you have to cut your resume down. This actually was a client. She was a person who was moving from Washington, D.C. Government space in the research and quantitative space, right? Research, figuring out how to make sure programs were efficient for the government, right? Not just giving money out, how do you make sure that there was some quantifiable way to know that they were doing well? She wanted to move from that to New York tech sector, data analytics for a large company or a tech company. Well, I'm like, wow, that's a big change. We're gonna have to do this in steps. Step one was this resume. No one was gonna hire her. She actually gave me 4 pages. I was like, I'm not even gonna read them until you get them down to 2. She actually cheated. It was actually 2.5. But we were able to really think about, okay, what are the job descriptions that speak to you? And let's start matching that with actually what you've done. And let's cut out the stuff that doesn't matter. We did create this 1-pager. I know it's really small, you can't see it. Don't worry, it's more just to show that no matter how many years experience, you can cut down a resume. And now she's research director, consultant, program manager. I'm like, okay, I know the level she's at. I see what she does. She's a monitoring evaluation specialist. She's done it a bunch of times. I'm like, okay, I can see what she does and she's not hiding. So to summarize that section, definitely speak to the job requirements. That is going to be key. Employer has a need. They have money for that need. Pay attention. Give them the answers to that need, to that problem. That is all you want to do. You want my eyes to stay there for 10 seconds, then 10 minutes, and then call you. Keep it to one page. If you are a person that says, there's no way, I challenge you, I promise that you can do it, you just have to be focused and less jargon. This is actually something really simple that people don't understand. If you are applying to a large company, now some of you might be applying to startups, maybe you're applying to some nonprofits, it might know that oftentimes there's a gatekeeper, and that gatekeeper is a recruiter, and that person might have 60 jobs in front of them they're hiring for. They have to know enough about all of them, but they're not going to know all of it. They just have to know enough to get you in the door. This is the jargon piece. Careful is being so jargony that I don't know what you do. Like I went to Georgetown and I graduated from Harvard, and sometimes I have a resume, I have no idea what they've done. So I say, hey, take a step back, just make sure you need to get through the gatekeepers. So not unjargony, but just a little less so we all know what you're doing. Okay, so this is the LinkedIn piece. Consider your resume. LinkedIn is the Twitter version of your resume. So if you get your resume down to a page, like LinkedIn is really like a third to half of that in terms of content. It's still gonna say the job titles specifically, which is really important. It's going to give you a couple bullet points under each, but even now they're even more succinct and shorter, and you better be punchy, and it definitely has to speak to the job description. So again, keywords, this is super, super important. Again, this is why LinkedIn has an algorithm. They want me as a recruiter, and my company just pays $4,000, $3,000, $2,000 to post a job for 3 months, whatever. As a service, they're gonna send me, hey, how about these 10 people? Hey, how about these 10 people? Every other day, I'm gonna get a bunch of resumes that I may not have looked, but they, through their algorithm, making sure you have the keywords, they're gonna come up and I'm like, oh, great, that's great. It's so much easier. LinkedIn sends me them. So know that that's how it works. Take the job description, make sure all the words are there, make sure it's in a resume, and then make sure it's on your LinkedIn. Take a good picture, pay the $50, or take a bunch of them on your own, selfies, whatever. Make a good one. Bad pictures tend to stand out more than good pictures, right? And also there's a choice for the background. Like if you use Facebook, there's always a background and ability so you could say a little more about yourself. Make that picture a great first profile picture, and that background picture, choose something that speaks to where you want to go. People often take that one for granted or kind of leave it alone. But I have one that I'm speaking in front of a crowd. It speaks to who I am and what I enjoy doing. There was a person who had one. She's like, what do you think of my background picture? And I was like, well, it looks to me like you want to do nonprofit work in the Caribbean. And she laughed. She's like, that is not what I want. And she's like, but that was just something I'm really proud of, a summer that I did. I was like, okay, I hear that, but that's not speaking to the type of job you want. She went back, got a great one of her speaking in front of a really large audience on a specific marketing topic, more apropos for the work she was looking for. On LinkedIn, if some of you are new to it or some of you have been on it for a long time, you want to engage with it, and you want to engage with it once a week, especially if you're looking for work way more than that. You probably want to be on it often. You want to create. So now you want to be seen, like I want to be seen as the head experiential for Vivo, right? Music. I want people to know that I do great content, music, video content. I would love a company like Vivo or any small company that does music and video blogs. So I got to start showing people what I do, not just in my networking space, but like online where people might find me. So you create good content and you want to add this to your LinkedIn. There are sections that say, add link, add videos, add presentations, show people who you are and your most recent stuff and some of your best stuff. This is a really odd place. There's a skills section that people, when they first get on LinkedIn, they do it. They basically like, I have these 600 skills. And then they forget about it. And 5 years later, they're looking for a new job. And if I'm walking through that, I say, well, let's look at your skills section. They have all this stuff like, basically like I do photocopy, where this person's now like a head of sales. You're like, why did I do that? Go through that skill section and edit that. I would only put 5 to 10 of your top skills that you want to be seen. Why? This is actually another way that recruiters find you. If I have specific skills, specific certificates, specific things that I need, I will add that to my search. If you have tons and tons of skills, it's hard to find you. Again, uncrowded, go to that. You probably haven't, a bunch of you were like, don't even know you had it. Make it 5 to 10, no more, and have them speak to the next job you're looking for. Be active. You know, if you are a person who's going to look for a new job now, definitely get on it, start networking, start connecting. If you're a person that's thinking about doing it in 6 months from now and really is doing more of a long-term big career move, this is a good time to do it. You know, it's a little easier. Like, you start being seen for the person for the job you want. Start putting updates, start kind of liking in comments, start engaging in it. It's not, some people hate it. I would just make it part of, in the way that you got to redo your resume and you got to put a LinkedIn nice picture. 1 hour on Monday, 1 hour on Friday, you're going to engage, see comments, see posts. But it's also for you at some point when you want to, like, kind of coming out, letting everyone know where you're going in life. You have been engaging, right? So it's not this kind of this just all of a sudden like, whoa, where'd she come from? You've been engaging, you've been enjoying it, you know, make it kind of a very mild 1 or 2 hours a week tops. And then you're like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want a bigger thought piece. I want people to know what I'm thinking. I want people to know about my expertise. This is something that, you know, I work with people. Send me a note if you want to, what does that really mean? But you want to do a kind of like, this is who I am. This is what I've been working on. This is where I want to go. So you want to work your way up to kind of putting yourself out there of where you want to go next for your job. This works well for a person who's doing a pivot or a large change, or, you know, you can go on people's journey with them. Okay, so we've talked about the resume, and basically the LinkedIn is like the Twitter version, and really, you know, very punchy and has all the new words. All of that is really important, but key. The best resume in the world will just not always get you a job, right? Because out of, you know, I have this other slide where 260 people apply, 10 people are interviewed, and 1 person gets the job, right? So 1 in 250 will get a job in the typical corporate job description, job opening. That person might be a friend of a friend, and that is the truth. Or they might not have as much, but all of a sudden, like, oh, we have all these connections. It's great. Nice to meet you. This person gets the job. You will have to network. And some of us do not enjoy networking, right? We love helping others. I want to help others. I'm going to share stuff. I'm going to redo the resume. Oh, me? Oh, no, not me. I don't know how to do that. Or I'm uncomfortable. That's just not me. There are ways to ease into networking. We actually, me and my partner, were creating a webinar specifically on how to ease into networking. So it's not so like jarring for people who are looking for jobs. But, you know, a few things. If you want to move into, say, you know, I really want to be client facing in X topic. I love my mindfulness. I love wellness. It's something that nobody knows about me. I'm going to start doing a little wellness zhuzh. I'm going to start kind of creating content. I want to help people in wellness. You know, maybe, you know, I have a friend of mine who he curates all these networking opportunities for people in government. And he's being seen as this go-to person. And he just started doing it, and then it kind of fed on itself. Now that's what he wants to do. He wants to work with people to get them into working in these great nonprofit and government sector. So one thing you could do is kind of start curating the thought and putting it out there. The other piece, this is something I did within pandemic, and I was like, there's so much need out there. I don't even know where to start. Share your skills. So if there's a skill you want to start developing, you want to start talking about it, and you want to do that. Like, some people like, I want to start doing sales. I hate sales, but some people want to do sales, or some people want to do, you know, I really want to do marketing. I didn't think I did. Start offering that for free to people around you. Not totally free, not forever, but do a few projects, right? Offer people, I'll do that. Let me help you with editing. Let me edit that video for you. I just want a few, maybe tinker that way. Again, start getting out there, talking and helping people. You help people, later on, they're going to help you. Another thing you can do, especially right now, is there something that you can offer people on a topic you're so good at? So if you're wellness, you're like, I love wellness, and I have all these elixirs and all these things I do, and they're really natural and they're really easy. Well, is that something you wanted to sell? Is that something you want to talk about? Is it, you know, what of this do you want to do? Tinker with it again. Maybe you put, hey, friends of friends, I'm going to be talking about this topic. This is how you sign up. Let's just start this conversation. All right. In general, you're always going to have to follow organizations and companies. follow the people you want to know where they're going and how it's going, because you might want to work there. So pay attention. And again, back to the thought piece. It's really about engaging in the topic that the next place you want to go in life, you want people to know to be looking out for you. So if you want the wellness space, or you really been wanting to work on a startup, you want to start talking about that and thinking about that and saying out loud that you want that to your friends around you, so they can be like, hey, I remember Mary, you wanted that. Hey, this is what I saw, Mary. They won't know if you don't start talking. So this is why networking, it's really just about talking and letting people know this is where you want to go, and can somebody help you? So be seen as an expert on the subject that you want to do next is a helpful part of getting that next job. So it's a whole process. It could be simple. Some people make it complicated. It's about engaging on a topic that you want next, the next job you want. Okay, so a little bit, that was a lot. Let's see, where are we? Great, 4:30. Sorry, I went over. So again, the salary consultations, we do resumes, and we organize people, but we're doing a lot on salary audits and making sure people are getting paid their worth. These are some of the things we do. If you've enjoyed this conversation, I really enjoyed that Girls Night tells people, hey, ask for a tip. So if you've enjoyed it, if you've gotten anything out of it, paypal.com, PayPal me, we wager. A couple of you did last week, and I was really appreciative. That was very kind of you. And that's it. That's where we are. We will take questions now. So I'm going to stop sharing. We'll start with Michelle and see how far we can go. I was going to ask that question in regards to relocating. I'm in healthcare. I'm looking for remote telework. If I did want to relocate to another state, would I have to use address and CC and apply? So I would say just take it off the table. Just put them the location they need to see. If you have a great conversation, it's not like location only mattered before. If everyone's teleworking, it's not a thing. You know, I'm not saying fib, I'm just saying make it a non-issue. Just say New York and remote, just say something in remote, make it general, just make it not stand out. It's not gonna matter right now. Okay, if every job is not including, there will be time gaps. Are these red flags? Okay, so one thing you can do is I would you can put the title and one or two bullets that you did that matters. I'm just saying don't focus so much that it's retail space. So this is Gretchen, she's asking, there's gonna be, if I take them all out, there's time gaps. The last two jobs are really important. They really are. I wish I could say something else. And the way you get around that is honestly is to know the people, and sometimes you can have a conversation. But it's okay, you know, little gaps it's fine. A year gap, even 2 gaps. For some moms, 5 years, you just kind of, you know, speak on that. I want to know, I have a problem. You're going to answer it. And, you know, are you going to be good at it? It is okay. Okay. No, honestly, it's not a red flag. It's just speak to it. I'm gonna take a quick water. It's a red flag if you have lots of them, because then if you have lots of them, I actually don't know what your trajectory in general is. So you will have to kind of weave it through. So Maria, let's see. If those gaps are because those jobs were not in your field or applicable to jobs you're applying for. So, you know, this is when you're gonna have to get creative. Every job has leadership. Every job has function. There are basics in every job that kind of are applicable. So I would suggest if there's tons of gaps, you probably want to bring a couple of those jobs back in and find the applicability for that job. You're just going to have to find it. You know, we all do customer service, no matter where, if you're a salesperson, a big company, or you are at a grocery store. So just think really about those transferable skills, and don't be fearful about, you put the skills that were good for the job that are applicable for the next job. I would say, again, we're going to be focusing on the first 2 jobs. If this is about job 4 or 5 or 6, don't worry too much about that. A question from Lucy. Okay. I have a lot of connections on LinkedIn and they have my resume. What is the best way to use like LinkedIn connecting people better, especially the ones who don't know you? So 1, make sure it's up to date, right? Make sure your LinkedIn, your resume is up to date. It is okay if you find a job. Remember, it's not a passive. Finding a job is very unpassive. It's very actually in your face. You have a good LinkedIn. You're going to see a job you like. You're going to apply to that job. You're going to look at job, and then you're going to go through your LinkedIn, like who is connected to that company? Hey, friend of friend, I see you're connected, you know, 2 rows removed, or I see you're connected to somebody in there. Can you connect, you know, hey, could you put in a good word? I have people once, twice a week a few weeks ago, it was like 50 people. I see, you know, this person, can you connect me? I will always connect the person who's been good to me and who I feel is clearly, you know, and I will clearly move them forward. But sometimes I'm connected to a lot of people on LinkedIn who I don't even remember how I met them. So just make sure, ask me, hey, I see you're connected to this person on LinkedIn. I'm trying to broaden the people who worked at MetLife. I see 10 people in my life. I see you're connected. Can I connect with them? So the way you use LinkedIn is once you have a great, you know, good updated the picture and do all that, and you start finding companies you want to apply for, jobs you want to apply for, connect and go ahead. You know what? Also write to the recruiter. I mean, I am fine. If you have a great intro to a recruiter, you say, I love this product. I have seen you for a long time. This is my resume. You know, I see this job. If not this job, another job. Make my life as a recruiter easier by coming to me. I've never begrudged anyone who's come to me with a good resume, you know, out of nowhere. Okay, so Natasha, what if you are pivoting into a new industry and have limited experience? Okay, so when you're pivoting into industry, you're gonna do the best you can with the resume you are. What you have to do, you're gonna have to do this on the side. There's too many people applying to too small jobs to feel like if you just send your resume, it's gonna work. So this is when you're going to do your side hustle. You're gonna say, hey friends, I'm trying to get in health and wellness. You have health and wellness. Could I do a podcast with you? Can I start doing stuff in this industry so people start seeing me in this way? Can I also start, you know, am I gonna create a newsletter, a simple newsletter where I start collecting stuff in this industry? You know, you're gonna have to take some time to start developing your persona in that industry for free in a limited way. Not free forever, but it is okay to do a few projects or collaborate with someone, do something outside of your zone. There's a woman I was working with, she wants to be a financial literacy coach. She's actually like she's a supervisor for transportation, let's say. And she's like, how do I marry these two? It's in my heart, that's what I want to do next, because I felt like it's something that I've always wanted to do. I was like, all right, we're gonna set it up so that you start creating a simple webinar or a simple kind of 1, 2, 3, this is what I would teach people. And start giving it out there and start putting out, you know, on the weekends, like 10 to 15 people, start talking out where you want to go and start have people see you for where you want to go. Okay. How important is visual impression of the resume? Graphics. Okay. I feel like people spend so much time on the resume formatting. They spend colors, all that. Honestly, that is not important. I have had people who have these crazy picturesque resumes. Sometimes they're really cool and beautiful. If you're a graphic designer, it better be good. If you're a storyteller, it better say a simple story, you know, and the more space and simple impression, important, like really, really. If you are like going for a job in sales or going for a marketing job, just tell me what you do. I think people get too hung up on those details and not on answer my question. All right, keywords versus buzzwords. Keywords meaning whatever the resume says and wherever they're coming from, make sure they're included. The job description says, I need people who do SaaS, calculators, focused on the Southwest region. Those are the kind of stuff you want to do as much as you can on your resume. If you do contract work on and off for different clients over periods, a few months, regular jobs, yeah, that's actually not bad. So I've had people roll up the contractor and just kind of put it in one space as a ongoing. Because if you've always done it, something you've always done, it's, I wouldn't put it in all different sections. I would just roll it up, have one section as a contractor and just say from this to present, and it just answers that. Let's see, you've also said about references on the second page. No, you know what? No, a company that's going to offer your job you don't need to put the references. They're going to ask you for it. So maybe, you know, certain industries, maybe they ask you up front, attach your references. Rarely have I ever seen anyone ask for references up front before a job offer is made. It could be different, but I'll say 99% of the time, I wouldn't include that. I wouldn't do a second page just for references. Cover letter, this is going to shock people. I actually never read cover letters. I feel like there's so much happening that the cover letter is the last thing I would even think to do. I want to make sure, does this person have all the backgrounds that I need to answer this job? Am I going to look at them a little further? And am I going to have a conversation with them on the phone? That's what you're trying to do. Just a conversation on the phone. Cover letter, every once in a while, if a company asks for a cover letter and you don't have one, that's actually bad. Sometimes that's the easiest way to discard someone, is if they just don't follow basic rules. So follow the rules. If they ask for one, send one. Freelancing, little business, and your job hunting, feedback. I've had feedback in interviews that I sound too busy, or I'm thinking I'm coming to steal clients from them. Well, that's interesting. You know, this is more interview stuff, but at least, but it sounds like you're getting the interviews. You want to talk about your freelancing in a way that you've been wanting to do this, but really to get to the place where you are going to have this job. Like, all this work has been to find a person just like you, person in front of me. Yeah, and it's about, if you're talking too much about other things, that means you're not focused on their problem. I don't want to hear the 1,000 things that you're doing. I want to hear the 1,000 ways you're going to make me money, grow my business, or do whatever. So maybe focus a lot on the problem instead of talking too much about yourself and like other stuff that's not relevant. All right, and I have probably a question of space for like 2 more. What if your title doesn't match the skills level you perform? Yeah, okay, people that I network with do portion of it. Okay, okay, so this is really, really important. I tell people on their resume, write the title you should have. Ask for the salary you should have. Just because other people have piled stuff on you and haven't caught up to the title and caught up to your salary, that is not your problem. When I put a title, if I feel comfortable, like I am overseeing all operations, but it says that I'm like managing just sales, overseeing operations, right? I have no problem doing that. And I think people are underselling themselves. Women undersell themselves because we're so like, but that's not what they give me. That's not what my pay stub says. I was like, it doesn't matter. What are the work you're doing? Tell people what you're doing. And if you feel like, I just found out people are making $100,000, I'm making $70,000, say, well, my skill set matches 100K, because this is true. That is what happens. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try one more because I hate not answering people. How important is education on a resume, LinkedIn? Okay, education important. I need to know that you've graduated at least from college. If it says college, high school, if it says high school, master's if it says master's. If it's not master's, then you'll have to tell me how you got the experience without having the master's. It's really important, and it's not because it's important to me. It is important because it's weeding people out. So if it asks for like, it doesn't matter if like if you have a master's in education, but right now you're like doing, creative director for something, just do master's at the school. You don't just step, that you have it, that you have an education is just good enough, and maybe take some conversation off the table. How many jobs should I apply today? I work full time and I'm tired. So, okay, this is the last one I have to answer. I gotta go. And then I'll want to say bye to everyone. So how many should apply to? You can apply to 600 a day, but that's not going to get you the job, right? And this goes back to what I said. There's a job, speak to that. The resume has to speak to that. The LinkedIn has to speak to the types of jobs you want. It has to be focused on a problem you're trying to solve. So if you can solve all 600 resume problems, then apply. I think it sounds like I would think about what you want next, the salary level you want, the industry, start to get a little specific, and to focus on that over and over for a little while and see how that goes. I think if you're just applying across the board, people can tell. And you don't seem focused, and there's too many people competing for too little jobs sometimes, that you want to be seen as the person for all these jobs that are coming up for their problems. Okay, I'm going to have to go. I was given 30 minutes. I'm at almost 50. I really appreciate everyone staying with me. You can follow my newsletter. Go to wewager.co. It's good stuff. Send me an email, Cynthia@wewager.co, I believe as well. It should be in there. If you have specific questions, if you feel stuck. And we have one more. Oh, we have next, let's see, we have next Wednesday, we have a salary 101. And I will teach you how to ask for money. That's a fun one.